Welcome to my summary for the patch 7.18 patch notes. First up is that a camera emote has been added. Oh my, making Balmung a little bit more spicy, I see. But this is a part of the Instax camera collaboration event going on. Savage loot locks have finally been released, and I know a lot of you have been waiting a very long time for this. So the first thing is talking about the normal mode, where light heavy holo blades used to be restricted, and now you can farm them to your heart's content. Now more relevant to a lot of people is that in the Savage mode, you can farm it as many times as you want in a week, even if people have cleared already before. You do not have any reductions to the number of loot, and you can skip and do any floor that you want at any time. Next up is that you can enhance your tombstone weapons by talking to Orishepia in Solution 9 and trading in one Ordell coin, and that NPC is going to be at Solution 9, X of 8.7, Y of 13.5. So basically, if you want to catch up on gear, now is probably the best time, although I am going to say patch 7.2 is coming around the corner in late March. They haven't given us an exact date yet, so definitely be aware of that. But I do think that if you want these pieces, like if you want to like dye them or something, it is definitely worth upgrading and collecting the Savage loot and stuff. I think this is a very good time if you're after loot. And then we're going to get into some of the PvP changes, which the first one is very substantial, which is going to be guard, which is for all of the jobs. And so the effect duration has been reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. However, the movement speed reduction has been decreased from 50 to 33%. So it's going to be able to stand on the point a little less and be a little less stalling. However, you're going to be able to move around rather than kind of be helpless. Paladin is looking at 2 nerfs. First of all is Holy Spirit's damage is being decreased by 25%. Intervene is being increased in cooldown by roughly 25%. Monk is looking at some buffs, which is going to start with Wind's Reply, where the pressure point effects damage is being increased by 20% up to 12,000, and then Meteor Drive is getting a buff where its range is going to be increased by a third, all the way up to 20 yalms. For Ninja, a mix of buffs and nerfs. First thing is Fuma Shuriken is having its cooldown reduced so you can use it more, so buffs there. Dokumori is having its recast time increased from 20 to 24 seconds, and the duration decreased from 10 to 8 seconds, so that's been nerfed. Now for Bunshin, we're looking at some pretty heavy nerfs, and so first of all, the damage has been decreased from 4,000 to 2,000 when using Forked Raiju or Fleeting Raiju, and then the additional damage granted by Bunshin no longer is going to ignore the effects of Guard when using Assassinate, so that I would consider quite a nerf. Doton's also been nerfed. Your damage reduction has been cut by a quarter down to 15%. However, thankfully there is some hope for Ninja and the guard damage being ignored, with Saiton Tenchu getting its effect added onto it where it just ignores guard. Samurai's base HP has been decreased by 1,500, which I consider much more substantial impact, but especially because it's a melee DPS. However, Zanshin is getting a love tap of damage increase from 5,000 to 6,000 potency. I still can't see a melee DPS's HP being decreased versus 1,000 more damage on one ability be worth it. Viper, on the other hand, is getting substantial buffs where its base HP is actually going up. So again, for melee, that's always going to be good. World Swallower is having its movement speed increase up to 50%, so literally doubled. Then from Ouroboros, damage converted into HP increased from 50% to 100%, so more life steal on that. Bard is actually getting buffed here. You'll say, oh, the recast times increased is probably what everyone's eyes is starting to. This is actually a buff because Harmonic Arrow is a good burst ability in PvP, and so what you're looking at is Powerful Shot and Pitch Perfect reduce the cooldown of Harmonic Arrow, and Harmonic Arrow itself is now going to have a slightly lower cooldown. What this translates to is Bards are going to have a lot more burst, so a pretty big buff in my opinion. Sheetus is getting buffed where the number of blast charges that you need to get out before you go into Overheated has been reduced from 5 to 4, so you're going to be able to get into that a lot more. Even if 5 to 4 doesn't sound that much, roughly that's 20%, so it's not a bad buff. Dancers had its AoE capped for Saber Dance and Dance of the Dawn, where basically the first target's going to get the full damage and then the rest are going to get less. Black Mage has the debuff that they put on targets called Lethargy, which is going to reduce target's damage dealt by 33% now. It used to be 25, so this is even more effective. And now this is going to last 5 seconds. However, the slow effect is being tuned down from 4 to 3 seconds, and then the ability's cooldown is being decreased from 16 to 15 seconds. Overall, I would definitely call this a buff. For Pictomancer, we're looking at 3 pretty decent buffs. Holy in White now does a little bit more damage, just very little. And then Smudge's cooldown has been decreased by a full 25% from 16 to 12 seconds, which is really substantial actually. Now their Tempera Grassa ability has its berry potency increased from 6,000 to 8,000. However, for Tempera Grassa, there is now a added caveat where Tempera Coat recast time is no longer reduced when the berry is completely absorbed. So that's definitely a bit dampening on it. Next up is that the arenas are getting a little bit of changes here, which the Palestria is going to have the duration of Swift Sprint. It's going to be reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. And then if you have cleared the opposing team's checkpoint, it has been reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. Now for the Volcanic Heart, we're looking at it being reduced from 4 to 3 seconds in general. However, likewise, if you pass the enemy team's checkpoint, it's now 8 to 6 seconds. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.